Good day, viewers at home. Welcome to your favorite show, Break It Open, where we look at all aspects and topics that people actually shy away from. So today we'll actually be talking about marriage, and my name is Tutugani Mazia. I am with my co-host.
Lwaipisi Thole.
Yes, and like I've mentioned, we will be looking into aspects of marriage and whether marriage is still considered as relevant or irrelevant. Before we get into the gist of the topic, though, I want to understand and hear from my co-host's opinion whether she believes that marriage is still relevant. So, what do you think, Lwapi?
I definitely still think marriage is relevant. I think it's a vital key in our society. I feel like it's a goal for many people still. And people really aspire to be married. But with that being said, I still do think that there are some people that are going against societal norms. I think that they're deciding not to go the habitual route and just deciding, you know what, I don't want to be married, and they're fine with that. So I'd say it's a 50-50. I'd say it's for some people, but it's not for everyone.
Okay, that's a great point. I actually also believe I'd more or less say we're on the same page, because I do believe that marriage should still be a thing that people take part in, but it's not the same thing as back then, where marriage was a sign of you showing that you love a person. If you love a person, you don't necessarily have to get married to them. You can just show them by obviously you can still be together, but not necessarily have to be married. That's what I'm trying to say.
We have our viewers at home contributing to the discussion of, is marriage still relevant? And we've had them send in a few questions. One of them being, is being happy and in love valid enough for you to get married? Does it influence you enough to get married to the partner that you're in love with? Do you think it'll sustain the marriage for years to come?
Sure, that's a tricky one actually. I think it can go either way. Like I had mentioned, love right now is not really measured by marriage on its own. So you can love a person but not want to be married with them. I'll take for instance an example of one of the famous DJs in South Africa, Black Coffee. Black Coffee, oh no, actually it's not Black Coffee, it's Zakes Wandwini. He's actually married to his wife, but they do not live together. So it's basically an arrangement that suits both of them. You don't necessarily have to go through that ancient route of being married and being there together in the house every day, you know.
I definitely do think that love is enough to get into marriage for some people, not everyone. Love, the idea of love being just a feeling and, oh, I fell into love and so that should sustain me through years of marriage, I don't think that will last the marriage. I definitely think that there's some logic.
Okay.
Put in effort. It goes hand in hand with the feeling of love. If you say that you love someone but you don't show them that you love them, it's not going to give you years of marriage that you wish you had.
All right. That's a great point actually. Sorry to cut you off. We're actually going to head to a break, and then we'll continue with our topic at hand after the break.
Feel unshakable, empowered, serene, free. Tsamaya le rona ka fa tlase ga maru.
Welcome back from the ad break, and we still are talking about the topic, is marriage still relevant?
With that being said, we decided to go to the streets and ask Botswana what they think about marriage. Do they still think people should go through with it? Do they still think it's an important part of our society? Let's hear what they have to say.
It's not an option. Maybe just to have a life partner. It doesn't need to be in a form of marriage.
It's like getting into a project without any goal, without any contract.
Marriage is for me because, like I'm saying, I am a child of God and I live by principles of God. So for me to have a child, for me to actually be intimate, I have to be in a marriage union.
It gives a sense of control and responsibility. Unlike when we are just a boyfriend and girlfriend, after all, this is just not my wife, she's not my husband. So we are not controlling this. I get emotions sometimes. I don't care, you are not my husband. You are just a mere boyfriend. You get it?
I don't want to get married because people aren't loyal, first of all. Second of all, having marriage is kind of like a trap. Like, you're not free. Get me? You'll be arguing over literally anything.
Kind of people, guys. Imagine being married to someone for so many years and you're miserable.
I would prefer just being with someone all the way, not marriage, because with marriage there are certain expectations from the society, and I don't think I'll be ready to deal with that, you know. It all depends on the parties, honestly. It's not about marriage. Yeah.
So yes, guys, you've heard it yourselves from the streets. This is what Botswana actually had to say, and I feel like that was a very strong point by one of the people out there who mentioned that religion is one of the strongholds or one of the reasons that people still do get married. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that is one of the strongholds why people get married, especially in a country where majority of people are religious, majority of people are Christian. I think that in their minds, if they want to get closer to God, marriage is one of the ways. Not that they don't want to actually get married willingly, but I definitely think it's one of the reasons people get married.
Oh, okay.
And I think they enjoy it.
They enjoy it. Okay. No, I actually loved the one where you could tell that they are getting married because they're in love. No other influences, but just the fact that they're in love. So I actually respect those 2 points, and thank you so much for the team that was out there interviewing the people in the street.
We also had some people disagreeing with the concept of marriage. We had one girl talking about how she genuinely can see her life thrive in a long-term relationship rather than being in a committed marriage. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this actually goes back to my opinion, which I had in the beginning of the show when I mentioned that love doesn't necessarily mean marriage. You can still be in love and just, you know, be together, but not married, because marriage kind of puts pressure on people now to behave a certain way rather than just being in love and being happy and being free. Because I really feel like love should be you expressing yourself any way you could, not being forced into that boundary, which is marriage. But again, I'm not saying marriage is a bad thing. I'm just saying I understand where she was coming from by being against marriage. So that was a very great point. I agree.
That was an amazing point that she mentioned. She also did mention how, why do people favor marriage over long-term relationships? She clearly is on the stance that she can live a very happy life in a long-term relationship. Why do most people feel like they should still sit in a marriage when they can just achieve the same things within a long-term relationship?
I think it also goes back into the whole thing of patriarchy, like how women feel like guys still rule their lives, if I'm not mistaken. But in my defense, I think those things have changed, because you do, for example, you now in politics, in office, you do actually find women being the dominant figure. So with her point of being afraid to be ruled, I wouldn't necessarily support it, because I feel like in marriages now, it can be a 50-50, especially also because there's been contracts during marriages that mean when you get married, no one has to take the other person's half. So yeah,
I definitely think a shared experience that a lot of Botswana youth have is the aspect of loyalty. A lot of people feel as though no one is loyal, and so what is the point of getting into marriage? What is the point of even maybe getting into a long-term relationship? I feel like that is an aspect that a lot of youth struggle with.
Okay, true. Thank you so much. That's actually a great point on its own. Thank you so much, Lwapi, for the very interesting and eye-opening discussion that we had here today. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, and thank you so much, viewers at home, for tuning in. This is your favorite show, Break It Open. So you can always catch it on Thursdays from 11 to 12. Make sure you tune in for the next show. Thank you.
Thank you.